Hey nerds, I'm about to hit you with the review of the third episode, season 2 of Master of None. Um, I think it's a cool character study for Dev and shows kind of one of the probably root causes that he has such a distant relationship with his family. And it's also kind of a nice reference to like the universal divide between children and their parents in some way, even smaller ways of like you were raised in a tradition and you're expected to respect that tradition and hold it in the highest regard. Um, Religion being a really strong one, especially whichever way your family um, feels about religion, honors religion. If your household isn't uh, faithfully diverse, I guess, usually. Um, the act of defiance in the beginning of the episode in the flashback of Dev eating bacon, even though he wasn't supposed to have it, and the fact that he tried it before he was told he was not supposed to have it, and just the weirdness of that, and being a kid and hearing, oh, I just had this thing, it's so good, it's called bacon. Oh, you're not supposed to eat bacon, it's our religion. What? Why? What does that mean? Give me more context, please. So, of course, most children probably at the age that was couldn't articulate the need to understand why these certain things exist. And, actually know about them. I was like, oh, I didn't know wasn't supposed to do this. It's designed as my whole family, apparently. And then fast forward to him as an adult, and like we've already seen his character arc so far, and he's become a little bit more sensitive than he was. Although, I mean, honestly, considering the social problems this show has already tackled, I'd be hard pressed to say that Dev isn't like a genuinely good person, and the show really tries to include that. And I like the commentary he was saying, because he didn't even go as far as say I am not of Islam anymore. He didn't go as far as to say something like I'm an atheist, regardless of his truth. He just said I'm not religious. He kept it simple, and honestly, I think a perfect situation. It'd be great to have a conversation with the people you care about how you feel about things and the differences that might now be much more visible between you two or three or more, depending on how many parents you have. And trying to come to an understanding of the other person and see them as a person and not just the people that you just coincidentally ended up having to experience for most of your life. So you probably love them to some extent. Talking more about the episode though, it was actually pretty heavy, even though it was like super funny. And I did appreciate Dev kind of bringing his cousin to the dark side, so to speak. Although it did really make them feel like two very, very small children at the dinner table right before Dev makes his huge decision to basically ruin dinner by ordering meat. Park specifically. And the whole montage of them at basically like a food carnival for meat was really funny, but honestly, it was kind of the least engaging part of the episode. But I did like the symbolism of them doing such a big thing. The fact that he hadn't really eaten meat before, Dev's cousin, and kind of incidentally being able to go to the hugest thing ever and not only onefold disrespect your family and religion by eating tons and tons of meat, just like so many carcasses, and faking being sick so that you're too busy at mosque doing prayer that you can't even know what they're doing. I mean, I think that's like threefold, really. I mean, skipping out family obligations, just regardless, that you're gonna get in trouble, right? But I did want to see Dev's cousin kind of expose himself too. I hope he gets more episodes in the future, and we see if there's anything else that might come of that, and if that will increase drama in any way, shape, or form. This episode is very emotional because I think like the topic is like really, really important, but I feel like Master of None has this way of showing like a problem, and I mean this is kind of a sitcom in episodes like this where they're generally tackling like a quote unquote universal issue while at the same time setting up tension in the future. I mean, I guess sitcoms don't do that much. But I do feel like it was kind of like some of these things are kind of like problems of the day. And I don't mean to say that the show doesn't treat things like women being harassed or how whitewashed and how stereotyped casting is in the film industry, that they're not handling that with, real weight. And also because the comedy series, you have to have that levity, obviously. Man, my hand's been turning this whole video, huh? I think that ending the episode inaudibly, showing Dev and his family having like a separate day, Dev kind of like valuing his friends, and kind of the idea is subtly of friends as family compared to what reference sitcoms would probably have the family rear end, and Dev would just do it for his parents. And I was really searching for him while they showed all of them in prayer, and I didn't see him. Unless one of you nerds saw him and want to tell me in the comments. I think it was very striking, because it's a good thing, but classically it's a bad ending. But him and his mom are talking again. But also kind of wraps up in this kind of bittersweet bow, because on one end, he read some of the Quran and he texted his mom referencing one line that had to do kind of with their situation, although I'm sure there's even more that could. It's just in the vast sea of everything, it feels like a little bit of not complete honesty on Dev's part, I think, if only because his dad pretty much gave him a tip. And he didn't say, as far as I read, that he was reading the Quran right in that moment. So him quoting that and her jumped to the assumption that he did read it, when he probably didn't read all of it. He's probably reading it for a couple hours, sure, but like it seems kind of in quick fix territory, although it's a very realistic response. I've known people who've done stuff like that. I've done stuff like that for friends too, to have someone give you something that has value to you, especially if you feel like it's going to have value to them too, when they reference it without being probed about it years later, you're gonna notice. So I don't know, I thought that was a little dishonest to Dev, although I mean no one's perfect, and it probably helped salvage the relationship with his mom. So I'm really interested in seeing what else his family dynamic throws into it, because they've tackled a lot of internal and external racial issues, and I thought this one was really good. And I don't mean to lump this together with the racial issue, but I mean because it was about religion and where they come from, especially with his parents being kind of this weird amalgam of embracing Western culture but also preserving parts of their cultural identity, parts which Dev doesn't necessarily agree with. I think that like the gap between like baby boomers and millennials is kind of an ongoing theme of this show. And I wonder what else the show's gonna throw at us. And like any critique, just because I'm speaking negatively of Dev does not mean that I don't like the show or how he's being written. With that, nerds, I think this video was long enough. Hope you're gonna have a great week.